Hey everybody, it's JJ here and welcome back to Geeky Dad's Reads, and tonight I'm going to talk about where to get started with Brandon Sanderson stories. Now, I first discovered Brandon Sanderson about 2007, right after it was announced that he was going to finish The Wheel of Time, and the first thought that went through my mind as a big Wheel of Time fan, I was like, there's no way this guy can finish what Robert Jordan has started. And so I went to Books A Million, I pulled off a mass market paperback copy of Mistborn off the shelf, I went to the coffee shop, I started reading, and about 3.5 hours later, right when they were about to close, I had already cracked the spine of that copy and was about 125 pages in, and I ended up buying Mistborn that day. But I didn't just buy Mistborn. I went back and bought the other two books along with Warbreaker as well. So I left the store that day with 4 Sanderson books. I went home, I proceeded to read, and I stayed up to maybe 2 or 3 in the morning reading the first Mistborn book. I still have that beat up paperback copy as well. So that was my first introduction to Brandon Sanderson, and shortly after that I started listening to his podcast, Writing Excuses, back when it was just him, Dan, and Howard. And so I've read a lot of Sanderson. I've taken breaks from Sanderson, but I've read a lot of Sanderson. A lot of people who have never read Brandon Sanderson ask the question, where do I get started? Well, tonight I'm going to give you a few places that you can jump in and get started with Brandon Sanderson books. Now, maybe you don't really want to start with the Cosmere. I understand that. It's big, it's epic, it's huge in its scope, so maybe you just want to ease into some Brandon Sanderson stories. Well, I would highly recommend you start with Skyward. Skyward is a great place to start. This series right here is a fun 4 or 5 book series, if you count the ones he's done with his co-authors and everything. It's great. I like this story. This story is so well written, so tight, and so incredibly unique. And not only that, it's not really that huge of a book compared to some of his bigger epics. So this is a great place to start. This was really fun read, and it was fast paced. I highly enjoyed it, so I recommend sometimes starting right here. Another place you can start that is non-Cosmere related is another book, and this was a part of his secret novels that he wrote, and that, of course, is The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. This is a fun story. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I probably need to do a review on this sometime, but this was a great story. I enjoyed it. Like I said, this one, like Skyward, it's not too thick, it's not too long. I think you can knock this out in probably a few days if you're a quick reader, or if you're like me and a slow reader, it'll probably take you 5 or 6 days. But this is a really fun read. It's really enjoyable, and it's a great place to just jump in and sort of get a sense of what his storytelling habits are like. Going back a little bit, another one, of course, I wish he would write a sequel to this sometime, and that, of course, is The Arithmetist. This is fun. This was unique as far as the magic system, the fantasy, the world building. I highly recommend this one. This is such a fun and enjoyable read. Like I said, I really wish that he could find time in his schedule to finish this or do a sequel to it, and I'm sure one day he may, but I do know he's got so many other projects that he might not ever get back to that, and that's okay. Or maybe one of his co-writers that he's now working with can, come alongside and do this. This is fun. This was enjoyable, and it's a great place to get started if you're not into wanting to get into the Cosmere and all that. Now, if you're wanting to get started into the Cosmere, there's lots of jumping in places, but the 3 I'm going to highly recommend you check out is this one right here, number 1. One of my favorite books by Sanderson, and it's probably my favorite of the 4 secret novels that he wrote, and that, of course, is Tress and the Emerald Sea. This was a great read. I thought this story was incredibly refreshing. The language, the way he tells the story, the POV that he uses to tell the story, it's all just very, very well. This is one of the best written books I think Sanderson has done, in my opinion. Others may not agree with that, but this was just a fun read, and I can't give a lot away because there is spoilers, and it's tough to talk about this book without giving a lot of spoilers. I think the idea for this book was he was watching The Princess Bride and thought, what if she had gone after him, And so this story is fun, it's enjoyable, it's a great place to get started if you're just wanting to jump into the Cosmere. The Cosmere is so big in scope, but I highly recommend checking this out. It's, like I said, it's a lovely read, and I think everybody would enjoy this. Now, another place that you can get started, of course, is the very first novel that Sanderson published, and that is Elantris. Elantris is such a cool magic system, and not only that, it's such a heartbreaking story in a way, and I really, really felt for the characters in this. This is one of those books where the characters, to me, really stood out, and I was really intrigued. This was probably the fourth Sanderson book I read. I read the entire Mistborn trilogy first, then came to this before I went on the Warbreaker, but I think this is a great starting in place if you're wanting to read a book within the Cosmere. It is a standalone right now, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel when it comes out, but I do know it's probably going to be a while. And of course, the place that everybody tells everybody to get started with when it comes to jumping into the Cosmere, and that of course is Mistborn. I have hardback copies of this signed by Sanderson, but this is the very first book I read by Sanderson, and this is the beat up paperback copy that I bought around 2007, somewhere around there. This book, I have read it maybe 3-4 times. It is such an incredible. I love allomancy. I love the magic system, the way it's built to just kind of solve conflict. I love Van. This book, to me, really changed my idea of how fantasy could be written, because it is a heist novel. It is Ocean's 11 with fantasy and magic and all those fun things. And so I really loved this. And when I sat down and I started reading it for that first time, I was just like, whoa, this story is something that I can enjoy. And this gave me confidence that Sanderson can actually finish, The Wheel of Time. Of course, if you really want to jump in, you can obviously jump into the Stormlight Archive. The Way of Kings is a great book. I got them right up here on the shelf, but I don't recommend that. I recommend that you start, if you're going to get into the Cosmere, you probably start with Mistborn first. That is where I tell people to go to, or Elantris, or Tress and Amos. Those are my choices. So, you may have a different opinion, or some of you who have read Sanderson, so let me know down in the comments below whether or not you think my suggestions are the best place to start. Maybe you have a different suggestion. I'd love to hear them, and let me know what your favorite Sanderson novel is in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm JJ. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you all in the next video. Later.